Child support advice. A parent is trying to figure out what happens next after a breakup, especially with housing and finances on the line. And on top of that, there's a scary threat being thrown around involving custody. Let's ease into this one, because it gets intense fast. I'm going through it right now. My child's father and I broke up in November. We still live together right now. He sleeps on the couch, I have the bed. It's time to sign the new lease, and I had to fight with him to sign the new lease so I could rent here until I can get into income-based housing. He told me he's not going to move with us when we do, which is fine, but he also said he wouldn't be living with me for much longer. I cannot afford where we are at without his help with income. So I told him if he moved out, he was paying child support. He blew up on me and told me if I took him for support, he was taking my son away from me. Our son is special needs, not autistic, actually special needs, like he cannot crawl, walk, or eat on his own, and is deaf. He does not feed him, doesn't change his diapers, does not take care of him, and he wants to take him away from me because he doesn't want to pay support. What are the odds he will get our son if I have mandated reporters who can verify I have done all the work and care and appointments since day one? Okay, pause for a second. What do you think about this one, the Reddit user situation? On one hand, it's easy to see why the Reddit user is terrified. When someone threatens to take the kid the moment child support is mentioned, it feels less like a parenting plan and more like a control tactic. But on the other hand, custody stuff can get complicated, and sometimes people say wild things in a breakup that don't match what they'd actually do in court. It also feels like one of those situations where documentation and outside verification could matter a lot, especially if one parent has been doing nearly all of the care. Mid-30s, no qualifications, future looks grim. Want to try and get degree, what do? Someone in their mid-30s is trying to restart, but they feel boxed in by time, past depression, and limited credentials. They're looking for a practical path forward without really knowing what fits. This one is quiet but heavy. I'm in my mid-30s with basically no qualifications. I've had a few chances to get some kind of training or education in my 20s, but I was severely depressed back then and couldn't care less about any of that. And I find the very realistic idea that all I will be able to hope for in the future is menial entry-level jobs quite depressing. I first thought about something in trades. Could be interesting and useful, but I have no one to learn from, and from what I've seen, they prefer hiring younger guys as assistants. I'm thinking about trying to get a university degree just so I can open a few more doors, so to speak, and I don't know what to pick. Having had very few experiences in general, I only have a tenuous grasp on subjects like what do I like. I'm somewhat talented at drawing, but likely not enough to ever be able to make a living out of it, particularly in the short term. This doesn't have anything to do with studying, it's just to illustrate one of the things I've actually tried. In my previous failed university course, I happened to study linguistics and phonology and found it a fascinating subject, but the chances of making a living out of a linguistics degree seem pretty slim. I have a passion for writing, as in written characters, especially the history of their evolution, and have an eye for handwriting and fonts, but I wouldn't really know what to do with this. I'm good at writing, as in composing written texts, but it doesn't seem to be a very sought-after skill on its own, especially now that every other person outsources that stuff to AIs. Overall, I obviously have an orientation towards humanities, but it hardly looks like anything that can land me a job with a decent pay nowadays. So at this point, I feel like picking something almost exclusively out of future economic usefulness is probably fair. I might end up failing, but I think I'd rather try and fail than keep being in the position I am in right now. What would you recommend? So, what do you make of the Reddit user situation? On one hand, it's really relatable to want a door opener degree, something that changes the category of jobs you can apply for. But on the other hand, it's also tough when the things someone genuinely likes feel like the least monetizable options, and that can make every choice feel like a trap. It also feels like one of those moments where practicality and interest have to meet somewhere in the middle, because forcing either extreme can backfire. How to get over fear of driving. A Reddit user wants the independence of driving, but fear and anxiety have been stopping them for years, and they're worried their own brain and body might make it impossible. This one is raw. I've avoided getting my license for years, and I've driven a car once very briefly, and I hated it. It felt like a spaceship. I have this idea in my head that I will definitely crash in a car. I also have motor tics and intrusive thoughts, and I think these will interfere with focus. Not only do I not want to drive, but I'm terrified of it all. I also have no idea how to drive. Like most adults, even without a license, could probably drive in an emergency. I wouldn't even know how to turn the car on. I mean, I probably would, but not quick enough. I want the freedom and independence that comes with driving, but I also don't know if I'm meant to drive. I am lazy, but that's not my issue here. I genuinely don't think it's in the cards for me. But I live somewhere where I have to, and quickly. Not that I'd be able to afford a car anytime soon, but I'd like to have the skill down, I guess. I hate everything. Why do we have to do things, and why can everyone do them except me? Enough of the pity party. Give me good advice, and don't be mean to me. What do you think about the Reddit user situation? On one hand, the fear sounds so consuming that even thinking about the basics, starting the car, being in traffic, feels overwhelming. But on the other hand, they're also clearly wanting change, and sometimes that desire is the first foothold. It also feels like one of those situations where small, controlled practice and support might matter more than willpower. My friend is being treated like a servant by her own family. What can she do? A student is watching their friend get crushed under family responsibilities and threats, even while trying to keep up with college. They want a way out, but don't know where to start. This is the kind of situation that makes people feel trapped. Hey everyone, I really need advice for my friend. She has been suffering in her own family since childhood, and now that she's in college, things are getting worse. Her mom passed away when she was young. Since then, she and her little sister have been raised by her mom's side of the family. Her father was sent away by them because they said they would take care of the children. But the reality is different. They act nice on the outside, but at home, they make her do housework all day. Even after exhausting college days, she has to take care of her grandmother, change her diapers, and handle most responsibilities alone. Her younger sister has been influenced by the family and now dislikes her and refuses to help. Tonight she called me crying. After a long day at college, her uncle forced her to keep working non-stop and even threatened her. Another uncle doesn't trust or support her either. She ended up walking alone at night because she was so overwhelmed. There is much more, but this is the situation in short. I want to help her, but I'm just a student myself. She wants to become independent but doesn't know how to start. What can she do right now to support herself and get out of this situation? What do you think about the Reddit user situation? On one hand, it sounds like the friend is being used as unpaid labor and emotional punching bag. And the nice on the outside part makes it even harder because outsiders might not believe her. But on the other hand, becoming independent while still in school, and likely financially dependent, can feel nearly impossible without a plan and support. It also feels like one of those situations where the first step might be finding resources through school, housing help, counseling, student services, anything that creates a path out. Am I a messed up person? A Reddit user is questioning their own motives after flirting while in a relationship, and realizing the reason they stopped might not be what it should have been. This is more about honesty with oneself than anything. Low-key, I've been flirting with this cashier for months. My coworkers started calling me out on it and teasing me about it. So I just tried to play it cool and say it's not like that and that I'm just being friendly. Then they started pointing out to me she was flirting back and clearly interested in me, and then the teasing from them intensified. Reminded them I had a girl and that they got it twisted. They all laughed, saying, "Whatever bro, you obviously want to smash." To prove it to them I wasn't flirting, I stopped going to that store, and when my coworkers say they want to go there, I tell them to go to a different one. Deep down I'm lying because I was in fact flirting and enjoyed talking to this cashier. I know it's wrong to flirt because I already have a girlfriend, but it's not the reason I started avoiding the cashier. I only stopped because my work buddies were teasing me and judging me for no self-control, not because of my girlfriend. Thoughts? So, what do you make of the Reddit user situation? On one hand, it's interesting that they did stop, which at least cuts off the situation. But on the other hand, the self-awareness is kind of the whole point here. They're noticing the motivation was ego and embarrassment, not loyalty. It also feels like one of those moments where the bigger question is what they want from their relationship and whether they're being fair to their girlfriend emotionally.